All right. So I'm going to try not to move around as much as I normally do when I record these videos. I'm going to try to stay here while I talk. Try to stand still. I know I'm a pacer and I like to pace while I talk and I think things through. But as of right now, Carson Wentz is still with the Indianapolis Colts. And from what I'm hearing and seeing, there's not a lot of trade interest in him. And I don't blame these teams for not wanting to trade for Carson Wentz. He's an absolute liability at the position, and he's not going to get you to playoffs. He's not going to get you to the Super Bowl. He's just not going to. He's not the guy at all. So I might have said this in the last video. I think getting a fourth round pick for Carson Wentz would be a fair deal. Anything better, we absolutely fleece that team. Um, Now looking at players that could come in and replace Carson Wentz, um, we just recently signed James Morgan from FIU to the practice squad, and after watching some of his film, that's about he might be able to come and compete with Sam Ellinger. Um, not beat. I don't think he's going to beat out Sam Ellinger. I think it's just too much of a deficit to come in against Sam Ellinger being here for an entire year, knowing the system. Sam Ellinger has a decent arm. He's already beat out one strong arm quarterback in Jacob Eason, whereas James Morgan's arm doesn't look to be quite as big as Jacob Eason's, but James Morgan is more mobile than Jacob Eason was. Um, James and through what I've seen of James Morgan, he has improved a lot through his stint with the Jets, but he's also been on two other teams since he's been drafted by the Jets, and he was beat out by Mike White, which after we saw his meteoric rise to fame in his 4 touchdown debut, he had a just as meteoric crash back down to earth. So this is what you're looking at in James Morgan. He's got sloppy footwork. He does seem to be accurate deep, and that's always valuable. He's a lot of his draft profile said he has a big arm, and I think that's a little over exaggerated. I think he has a solid arm. He has a good, not great arm, but I think Sam Ellinger's arm is average to good. Um, but Sam Ellinger has been in this system for a year. I don't think James Morgan is going to move the needle much in the Colts camp. He's going to come in. He's going to be another guy to just come in here, work out, and try to compete with Sam Ellinger and potentially Carson Wentz if he manages to not get himself cut. Carson Wentz is saying he does want to come back to this team, and I honestly don't know why the fuck he would want to come back to this team. It's like when Ballard doesn't want him, Frank Reich doesn't want him, Jim Irsay doesn't want him. I don't know why he's saying he wants to come back to this team other than just try to save face and try to go play for somewhere else. That's not Indianapolis, and try to make it look like we're the problem. Because we all know from watching Carson Wentz in Philadelphia, the man does not have the mental capabilities to handle what's going on right now. And especially if we start bringing in more quarterbacks to compete with him, then he's really not going to want to be playing for Indianapolis. Just as we saw Philadelphia after they drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round, which we could be very well using our second round pick on a player like Desmond Ridder or Carson Strong. And that would just probably just tip the scale over for Carson Wentz, be the straw on the camel's back, if you would. Free agents, guys. Free agents that we could look at in getting to replace Carson Wentz. Of course, there's Marcus Mariota. I don't think Marcus is going to be. Marcus is also just not the guy. Marcus is really mobile. He's got a good arm, but he's just not an anticipatory thrower, and he's still not. Even going back and watching his Raiders clips, he just doesn't throw with anticipation still. His reading of defenses, he has improved since he left the Titans. He's better than he was with the Titans, but he's still not the guy. If the Saints don't bring in Jameis Winston, we should 100% pursue Jameis Winston with everything we have. Jameis Winston could be the guy. Jameis Winston has a big arm. He was doing good in New Orleans before the injury. And he's not a really mobile guy anyway, so even then, his injury is not going to affect him. Mitchell Trubisky, would be a solid bridge player or even someone to come in and compete against Wentz and probably even take the job from Carson Wentz if Sam Ellinger doesn't do that this season, because we're going to get to see Sam Ellinger with an actual offseason. We're going to see him with an actual offseason. Of course, he had an actual offseason last year too. Sorry, I'm getting the COVID years mixed up. But we're going to get to see Sam Ellinger in another offseason, in another preseason, just really mastering this system even more. And Sam Ellinger could very well be taking this job from Carson Wentz. Sam Ellinger's start is very solid. He's just got to clean up some college habits that he has and clean up his footwork. He gets a little heel clicky when he's throwing the ball, especially when he's throwing it deep. He likes to click his heels. Do that. Or, heel clicking, for those of you that don't know, is the crow hop. He's going to jump forward a little bit and almost kind of touch his heels together, crow hop forward. So Sam Ellinger does have a little bit of issues, but he's a 6th-round pick, and he's really solid for a 6th-round pick, and he could very well compete with Carson Wentz for this job, along with someone like Mitchell Trubisky. If the Texans don't bring back Tyrod Taylor has proven year after year he's a solid starter. He's had very unfortunate circumstances where he's been replaced where he's gotten beat out by Baker Mayfield. Excuse me. He's gotten beat out by Baker Mayfield. The Chargers punctured his lung. The Chargers medical staff punctured the dude's lung, and that paved the way for Justin Herbert, which Justin Herbert was probably going to be making his debut very quickly with LA. Sorry, I just shorted out trying to decide whether to call him San Diego or LA, because it's still a habit. Well, these are the main guys. Now on the other side of the ball, Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger, is getting let go by the Chiefs. They're not re-signing him. We absolutely do not need to go after Honey Badger. We have safeties. Our safeties are good. When there's no sense in wasting the cap on someone that's going to be as expensive as Honey Badger, when we need to be using that cap to pursue Randy Gregory and Chandler Jones, if Chandler Jones makes it through any type of Cardinal shenanigans to get into free agency. Chandler Jones is someone we absolutely need to push for a championship. 100%. Give him the bag. Try to bring in Randy Gregory for whatever. The Chiefs franchise tagged Orlando Brown, so he's off the market. We're not getting Orlando Brown, which is unfortunate. Now there's still some wide receivers out there that we could be looking into. I still think Juju could be decent, but there's still a lot of other guys we need to look at. Hopefully in the draft, in the wide receivers, George Pickens is the man. I think George Pickens is my number 2 receiver in the draft, and he's projected the 2nd round, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous. This dude is insane. He is Julio Jones 2.0. This man's a monster. And then Jamison Williams is obviously my number 1, but there's no way in hell we get Jamison Williams because he's going to be a top 10 pick. There's quite a few weapons. Chris Olave, after the NFL screwed over his 40 time to be a 4.4, this man has truly elite speed if you watch his film, and it's absolutely ridiculous to think that he didn't actually run a 4.2 and that they dialed him back to a 4.4. I think that's absolutely wrong. Like, I wholeheartedly believe he ran that 4.2, whether official, unofficial, don't care. I absolutely believe he runs a 4.2. Watch the film. He's faster than Garrett Wilson. Just go watch the film. He's absolutely faster than Garrett Wilson. And so that could have really tanked Chris Olave's draft stock, and we could see Chris Olave fall because to a late 1st round or even in the 2nd round, and Chris Olave would be a stud. But that's all I really want to talk about today. Just go over some quarterbacks, some wide receiver options, some free agent options. There's a lot going on, and we're ramping up at the free agency. We have till March 18th to get rid of Carson Wentz before he costs us more money, and I hope to God we do get rid of him. This dude's got to go, and so do I. See ya.